Well, to hot topics now, and for the first time, the majority of voters now expect the coalition to form government at this year's election. The latest news poll showing the coalition now leads the Labor Party 51 to 49 on a two-party preferred basis. It is a significant swing against Labor, with Anthony Albanese also seeing his lowest approval ratings since becoming Prime Minister. For their take, let's bring in Nationals MP Barnaby Joyce and journalist Joe Hildebrand. Good morning to both of you. Well, the majority of voters believe a coalition victory are ready for the taking. I noticed the Prime Minister on the weekend says he has been underestimated his whole life. But Barnaby, are you celebrating already?
Don't celebrate. Obviously, that would be hubris, and you'll come unstuck to do that. Cost of living has killed them. They haven't managed to get on top of that. They've been fascinated with intermittent power and other rubbish like that, and that's taken away their message. And I hate to say it, I've been around this game for a while, about 20 years. A lot of people already in their heads, they've voted against the Labor Party. I saw that as getting around a country music week or up the north of the electorate. So it's, I don't know. I wouldn't say that we've won the election by a long shot, but I could say that there is real sentiment against Mr Albanese. Unfortunately, the Labor Party, because he's the leader, Mr Bowen, he's so good for me. He is so good.
Barnaby, do you want to believe polls, though?
Yeah, I think the polls, you always check polls against sentiment on the ground truth them. And the ground truth for the Labor Party is not good, but there's not a one election in this. It's just, I think it's more a sentiment that people are voting against the Labor Party because they believe that they've just lost sight of the realities of actual people's lives now.
Like they've voted against Scott Morrison. Is it a bit of a swing like that?
Well, yeah, maybe. I think that was different. I think that in the end, all prime ministers in the end become unpopular. Everyone. John Howard, the whole lot. Okay, so, but Mr Albanese's done something really tricky. He's done it in a term. Well,
we hasn't done it yet because obviously we haven't had the election. But what are you seeing, Joe? Do you think the polls are right? Because, you know, the government's saying don't count your chickens.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, this is a first-term government, so it is obviously different from Scott Morrison last time around. This is a similar situation to what John Howard was in 1998. A lot of people forget that Howard, for all his electoral success since then, barely scraped through in 98 and he lost the popular vote. So it's not all over. This is obviously not a poll of how people are going to vote, but how they think other people are going to vote. And that is interesting in its own right. It's probably better for Labor that people don't just assume they're going to coast to victory, because that runs the risk of a bunch of people registering protest votes, thinking that the government is going to get back in anyway, but wanting to send them a message. I think the general sentiment on the ground is that there is a huge cost of living crisis. Obviously, people are really doing it tough, even though the headline figures are getting better and turning around, and we may, God willing, get a rate cut in the next month or two. People are up against the wall, and all the sort of accumulation of everything that's gone wrong over the past year is really starting to hurt people. So they are feeling things are going badly, even though they are actually starting to turn around and get better. And of course, when things are going badly, it's always the government's fault.
Yeah,
so, I think it's still there for the winning, but it is tough.
Okay, moving on. Yesterday's Australia Day celebrations were in full swing across the entire country. Thousands getting behind Barbies and beach days. Barnaby, many are saying our National Day has been reclaimed after many years of protest. What do you reckon about that?
You see my flag?
That's a beautiful flag.
That's always on the top of the hill with me. I just had to take a different angle. Yes, I think people hate being told by an intellectual clique where their morals should be, how they should think, what's right, what's wrong. And the more, to be honest, the intellectual moral clique of the left decided that there was something impure and immoral about Australia Day, people just get annoyed and say, well, I would never use the yak eye on. I was never really a big flag waver. But because you're telling me how to think again, I'm going to throw it back in your face. And people were a lot more sort of pro getting out the Australian flag, celebrating Australia Day. And it doesn't matter whether Triple J put the top 100 on the day before. They'd made their own mind up, and they'll do it again. If you let people make their own minds up, don't take this position that you're morally pure and you're going to tell people how to think and you're going to take away their national day. They had a crack at it with The Voice. That fell flat on its face. And then they had another, version 2 with Australia Day's evil and we'll stop celebrating Australia Day. I mean, Australia Day's representation of when convicts turned up, when we should have actually failed. And we had all the recipe for a complete disaster. We turned Australia into the greatest egalitarian, as far as egalitarianism and freedoms go. We're the greatest nation on earth. We have the least class structure, the greatest opportunity for a person who grows up on an average street to get ahead than any other country. That's worth celebrating.
Yeah, hear, hear.
Joe, do you think this sort of, the polls increasing for people not wanting to change the date, do you think this has happened after The Voice? Yes,
and also after the election of Donald Trump. And I think what has happened is that people were told, if you don't change the date, you'll be on the wrong side of history because it's inevitable that this is going to happen. And if you're still holding on, you're going to be a racist and a reactionary and a throwback. And I did support The Voice, but as soon as I heard yes campaigners saying if you don't vote for this, you're racist or you're on the wrong side of history, I thought, that's it, it's all over. You've just lost it for us. And that's exactly what happened. It turned around 60-40 in favour to 60-40 against. What is happening is now, as Barnaby said, you've got a top-down sort of elite saying this has to change and if you don't support it, you are a racist. And then what you saw with the Voice referendum and then again with the election of Donald Trump not neatly bookending it, is they saw, hang on, everybody else feels the exact same way as well. Everybody is rejecting this. So if I'm racist, then everybody's racist, which means that you're not right about what racism is. You're just anti what we all think. You're anti-mainstream. And so, yes, I think it is a bloody nose for the do-gooders who would like to tell us all what we have to say and think.
And now everyone is having a good weekend. Woo! Have a great holiday. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Happy Australia
guys.
Day, Barnaby and Joe Hildebrand.